All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm just seeing some people join us, but it's 10 o'clock and I wanted to get started. We have a lot to get through today. Welcome to CHESS Special Risks webinar, Hard Market Therapy. My name is Naomi Grossman. I'm a journalist in the Canadian insurance industry. And I was previously news editor at Thomson's World Insurance News, if you're familiar with that news outlet. I've had a bird's eye view of the hard market, but you're all on the front lines and that's why you're here. And we have CHESS experts to share how developments and new underwriting capacity are supporting brokers across the country. Before I introduce our speakers, just housekeeping, although I know everybody's probably aware of this by now, of the Zoom etiquette. But we'd ask you to keep your mics on mute. I'll be asking questions throughout the webinar, but we want to hear from you. We're here for you. So there will be 15 minutes at the end, Q&A. But if you have questions during, you can see there's a little Q&A chat box, and we would love to get your questions through there. So to introduce our speakers, we have Gary Hirst, President and CEO, Maroof Hassan, Senior VP and Director of Underwriting. We have Christina Nelson, Senior Underwriter and Team Leader. She'll be talking about property, and Alexandra Fernandez. She's also Senior Underwriter and Team Leader, and she's going to be talking about the liability space. So I don't want to spend too much time making further intros. There'll be slides that you'll see throughout, and that will be sent to you following the webinar. There'll be contact information on there as well. I do have the agenda, and you should be seeing that too. Just to quickly run through it, we'll be talking about current hard market in Canada, CHESS's product innovation, what brokers need to consider when working with an MGA, how can a broker write and win more business, why retail brokers should be working with CHESS Special Risk, developments in construction, property, and liability, and then the Q&A, and we really would encourage your participation there. All right, that's enough for me. Now to our speakers. We're going to start with Gary. So Gary, you've been in insurance since the 80s and have worked in both hard and soft markets. Maybe you can start by painting a picture of the current market in Canada and what problem-solving skills you're seeing brokers employ to their advantage.
Thank you, Naomi, and good morning, and thank you to all of you that have taken the time to join our webinar. We hope that we'll be able to give you some insight as to what CHESS is all about over the next 45 minutes. Naomi, as you were kind enough to say, I've been in insurance since the 80s, although I don't think I've weathered particularly well, but certainly the experience that I've had over the period of time does encompass at least two really hard markets, and this current market environment is extremely hard. The hard market for us hit in August of 2019. I guess we were all seeing a turn in the market place, and I think since 2019, it's nearly 2 years now, we have all seen restrictions in capacity, restrictions in flexibility of what markets can offer. Whilst it is hard and terms and conditions are tougher, I'm hoping that we've all now settled into an appetite. I think the brokers do tend to know what markets will write what things, and they tend to have an idea of pricing, etc. Now, this is something that CHESS have been monitoring over certainly the last 14 months, is seeing the changes that are going on in the market, the restriction in capacity, line sizes from domestic carriers are reducing. Maybe they've been on a risk for 10 or 15 years without a claim, and now all of a sudden, instead of writing 100%, they're only leading with a 20% line. You know, all these sorts of fun and games are occurring at the moment. We've now come to the table with increased capacity and increased flexibility. Our capacity across property liability lines, medical malpractice, and various other areas has actually increased 4 times. So we've got 4 times the amount of capacity that we had this time last year. That does enable us to write bigger participations on risks, either as a lead line or as a follow. But where I think we are adding value for money is in the number of IBC or SIC codes that we can write, predominantly in the property liability sector. We can actually write over 1,200 different industry codes, which I think is one of the broadest appetites in the market.
Great, thank you. Now, the webinar is titled Hard Market Therapy. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how Chess is supporting brokers.
Thank you. Well, I think really very simply, we answer the telephone and we reply to emails. You know, I answer the phone. The phone rings and I pick the phone up. I enjoy speaking to brokers. And it's quite interesting. We do receive a lot of phone calls from brokers that are saying, you know, I've got this, what do you think? Or, you know, I've got a bit of a problem here. Do you have a recommendation? So quite simply, we do answer the phone and reply to emails. We're not hiding behind voicemail. We really do strive to give the brokers a response. And I think, you know, from a lot of the emails that I see forwarded to me by our senior team and our underwriters, we're getting quite a lot of compliments coming back from brokers over this period of time. We know that other MGAs and standard market carriers are somewhat hiding behind this working from home situation. You know, you would have thought that after 14 months of working from home that the individual's workflows would have standardized and priorities would now be in place. But, you know, for the underwriters here at Chess, working from home is now our daily routine. We have regular meetings, communication. Our teams are working together, and quite frankly, as an MGA, we look to say yes. You know, we do look to write business. You know, we're not paying our bills unless we're writing business. And that means, you know, taking a risk. You know, you're making a risk assessment. We are looking to say yes, whereas a lot of our competitors, and I think a lot of the standard market carriers, think that from a career point of view, it's safer to say no. We do like to work in tandem with the brokers.
Great, thanks. Yeah, it's this work from home is definitely, you know, some of us have gotten very used to it. So that's great to hear. Now a little bit about your products. You've talked about how you're there for brokers and you're there to respond to their calls. Tell us a little bit about the new products that brokers are coming to Chess for.
Yes, thanks, Naomi. Well, we do write over 250 different products. And these products are ranges of property type risks, liability risks, We're one of a few MGAs that's actually started a brand new team and a brand new area, which is writing medical malpractice. We're writing spas, clinics, day type medical facilities. And certainly I know that from a Lloyd's perspective, last year we were the only MGA in Canada granted a new medical malpractice facility. So they're some of the broad areas that we're writing. But more importantly, I guess what we're trying to do is redefine what an MGA is actually about. Now, I think that most people in the Canadian market, and quite a few brokers, tend to think of an MGA as a substandard market, only here to write the stuff that falls off the table of the domestic carriers. And I don't think that that's really quite the right way to think about things, because, yeah, in the hard market, capacity is restricted, brokers are looking for support. But likewise, when we hit the soft market, we as MGAs would also like to continue to be supported by the brokers. So we are looking at this as a two-way street. And where we're trying to make a big impact is in the standard market lines. We've all seen domestic carriers retract really deeply into their own space, and there are some really good quality risks out there. And I'm not just talking about well sprinklered or constructed, but you've actually got an insured that really does take a genuine interest in their risk management, and we're particularly interested in that. And we talk to a lot of brokers that are frustrated that they've been working with a domestic carrier for 10 years. The insured has spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars in upgrading their risk to comply with survey recommendations. Their insured is, acting really responsibly. And then we hit a hard market, and now the market is retracting. So we see a great opportunity of getting into the standard market area. Hence the reason why we've broadened our capacity, we've broadened our industry codes, because we're trying to improve the risk quality of our portfolio. This isn't just restricted to property. We've also expanded in construction. Again, Maruf will speak later about our construction capability, but we're not just pigeonholed into your regular MGA type of arena. All these areas of expansion that we've implemented have seen a rise in terms of the number of policies that we're writing. Obviously, the amount of premium that we're writing has increased, and it's really exciting to see the amount of brokers that are actually supporting us at the moment.
Great. So you've dipped your toe into a little bit, but I was hoping you could maybe highlight some of these standard market products that you're writing now.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, the perception of an MGA and what an MGA can do is that we're perhaps considered as substandard, and the coverage and the terms and conditions are not nearly as good as the brokers can get in a soft market from standard market carriers. So again, here at Chess, we've done a lot of work over the last 14 months analysing policy wordings. And as a result of that, to try and narrow the gap between the difference of an MGA wording and a standard market wording, we've now included various policy extensions under our property covers. These policy extensions are ones that I think brokers are used to seeing attached to a domestic policy. There's, 25, 30 coverage extensions, whereas an MGA is used to being seen as just offering named perils or broad form. Our policies, when requested, can include over 30 coverage extensions, and these are all extensions that you'd expect to see from a domestic carrier. I think that this has certainly put us in the game, and the brokers have seen this, and with our communication, our media team do a great job in making everyone aware of what we're able to do. We've seen a great deal of brokers flocking towards us, offering us business. And an additional aspect to that is the liability offering. Again, previously our liability section, typically our section 2 of a property cover, was a very low limit of liability. We've now increased that liability capability by more than 2.5 times. So we're now able to quote a very high level of liability in tandem with the property extension. So again, we're in the game there. Our medical malpractice offering, that one, like the economy within that med-mal arena of salons and spas and clinics, etc., has obviously taken a hit with lockdown. A lot of those poor companies have been shut down now for 14 months, but our medical malpractice offering is there to assist that particular part of the economy ready to open up. And again, where we're hoping to see advances is in the number of procedures that we can do under the med-mal. It's not just hairdressers or beauticians. We're now looking at day clinics, so we are able to look at Botox. We are able to look at skin peel. There are 3 or 4 new procedures and 3 or 4 new chemicals that are now being used in that area that we're able to write, whereas we know other MGAs are not able to write it. So we've extended the offering, and as I said earlier, we've brought this new capacity to this sector early on this year to hopefully encourage that area of the economy and make it easier for them to buy insurance.
Great. You've touched on a lot, but getting to the core here for the brokers who are with us this morning, just a direct question: how can brokers write and win more business?
Well, that's the $1 million question. How can a broker write more business? Well, you are talking to a broker. I'm 27 years, and I hate saying those sorts of statistics, but I've been a broker for 27 years, and that was the first 27 years of my career. I've only sort of turned gamekeeper in the last 8 years or so in being involved in the MGA arena. But I've always found that the way a broker wins more business is just straightforward communication. We do see a lot of emails that come through which are CC'd into 9 competitors. And then it's not even in a BCC. You're actually, named with 9 other competitors. And quite frankly, our first thoughts on that is, we'll get to that later on in the day if we've got time. The broker sends an email in that is, a dear Maroof or a dear Christina, we've got this new inquiry that we're looking to help with. That tends to generate a great deal more resonance with our underwriters, where it's more of a personalized communication that comes through. Now, you may well argue that, well, we don't know the names of the individuals, but again, just a quick phone call into our phone lines. We do answer the phone. I answer the phone. I return all my voicemails every single day. We've got teams of underwriters dotted around the country. We're particularly talking about English-speaking Canada at the moment, but we've got a team of over 22 underwriters in Quebec that speak English and French. The teams in Ontario, we've got over 20 underwriters in Ontario who are incentivized to deal with brokers. We are here to say yes, and our underwriters want to develop a relationship with a broker. We want to be the go-to. We want the broker to be able to phone us up and say, look, Gary, you helped me with this one last time, I've got another one. Can we do a similar thing? I'm looking for a price of this or a rate of this or a deductible of this. A broker that can come to us with an idea of terms that they want to bind the business with, the bind ratio increases. The amount of times that we actually go back to the broker and say, yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. That rate is something that we can do, or, that deductible, yes, we can do that. If we can go back and say to the broker, yes, here we are, there's the capacity, let us know how it's going to go. Tell us, is there any sort of nuance that we need to jiggle around with over the next 10 days prior to binding? Make us feel part of the chase. It's exciting trying to win business.
Yeah, it's a great thing to hear, and when asking that question, you don't necessarily start thinking about the basics, right? Like communication, building a relationship. In terms of working with an MGA, what do you think brokers need to consider when working with an MGA if it's something that's new to them?
Well, this might come across as a bit of a hard response initially. But to be frank, we're not here for the practice of quoting. We get to quote risks every single day. So we're really not here to just be somebody that gives the brokers, one of 3 quotes that they're going to take back to their insured and prove to the insured that they've canvassed the market. Here we are, Mr. Hirst, we've done a marketing exercise. Here's 3 quotes. Here's the quote from Chess, which, isn't great. Here's the one from a domestic carrier, which I think you should go with. I mean, we honestly, we're very busy. We are very committed to winning business. So that sort of thing really doesn't resonate very well with us. And the reason for that is, I think an MGA and the underwriters in an MGA, or certainly the underwriters here at Chess, are true underwriters. The true art of underwriting is completely lost, and that might be an aggressive comment to make when you're dealing with standard market. I mean, standard market carriers, the underwriters are keying in data. And then, computer says yes or computer says no. And for them, it is about data entry, and that isn't the case here at Chess. Our software systems don't make the decision. A human being makes a decision. Our underwriters are seasoned professionals. They've been in the market for years. They understand the industry, the particular risk. They understand that a client can have losses. And it may not be an attractive looking risk to begin with, but we spend the time and the energy to try and put together some terms that make it a risk that we can write, and hopefully terms and conditions that an insured can actually buy. We understand the fire protection grades. We understand deductible levels, and we try and deliver a tailored solution. And all of that takes time to create that work of art. And I do think a lot of our quotes are artful in terms of trying to come up with a solution. And there's nothing more deflating than seeing one of our renewals, remarketed. And we had this a couple of weeks ago, where a retail broker actually sent us in our own renewal, telling us that Chess had given renewal terms on this, and that they were trying to undercut it. I mean, that's a bit deflating. Come back to us and tell us that those terms won't work, and we'll see what we can do. So what I'm talking about here is, smart broking.
Right. Yeah, it's so you're going back to the communication key too, right? So and you've already touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can delve a little bit more into why brokers should choose Chess.
Yeah, well, there's all the nice things to say about Chess, but certainly from my time as a broker, I think brokers generally need to really look around the market and actually see what's going on here. I mean, I know, we're all interested in winning business, giving customer service, but just take a bit of a step back for a moment and actually look around to see what's happening in the market. A lot of the players are being purchased, and I'm not just talking about domestic carriers. There is another domestic carrier that's been purchased again this morning before we came on the webinar. There's another purchase that's gone through. Last week, another MGA got purchased, this time by Gallagher's. I mean, really, it is a case of looking to see what is happening to the choice of carrier. I mean, here at Chess, we are, I think, pretty unique nowadays. If you look around the MGA market, we're proudly independent. Nobody owns us. We're not owned by a bank. We're not owned by one of your broker competitors. I see Gallagher's bought an MGA last week. You've got Hub owning quite a few MGAs in Canada. All of those are your competitors. We're not owned by an insurer. So the market is shrinking. Choice is being taken away. Insurers are buying other insurers, and they're not offering double the capacity. They're buying another insurer to take capacity out the market. You've got insurers that are buying brokers. Again, they're running into monopoly type considerations when it comes to buying other insurers. So how do they control their distribution? Well, they control that distribution by buying other brokers. They're then, controlling the business that is done by the independent intermediary. They're looking at the contracts that the brokers have and saying, well, Mr. Hirst, you're not producing the right amount of premium, and why is all that business going elsewhere? If you don't support this contract, then you're going to lose it. So whether the brokers have sold to them or still remain independent, there is still that pressure being put on brokers to support various insurers, or else they'll end up losing a contract. Now, with Chess, there's no contract to work with us. There is no income requirement. We're not banging on the table saying, we need this and we need that. We work very hard to issue a policy within 48 hours. We know that domestic carriers and other MGAs are taking a lot longer than that. We're trying to be a true partner aligned with the broker community and to a certain extent, help those independent brokers flourish.
Great, thank you. And I see lots of great sort of comments in the chat, and we do have some questions coming in. So I'm really happy to see that. Just a couple more questions for you, Gary, before we go to our other speakers. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about Chess's product innovation.
Thank you. Well, you'll be hearing from my colleagues, and I know I can talk for hours and hours, and my colleagues have got a lot of interesting things to talk about. But Canada is a new country. It's a new country with lots of new Canadians, myself included, and as a result of that, construction is a huge industry for a country like Canada that's new and developing. I've been to various presentations over the last couple of years. There's billions of dollars being spent on infrastructure and housing. Where a new house can't be built, existing properties are being built. Those Second World War bungalows that are on the big lots are now being purchased and either being demolished or they're being extended. So a couple of years ago, we developed a new product called Home Reno. Now this, as far as we're concerned, is a fairly unique offering that covers the existing structure of a property, and we all know that keeping some of the existing structure or most of the existing structure is tax effective for the contractor or the homeowner. But we also cover the construction activity under this policy, and it is a proper all-risk policy. It's not just a broad form. This is an all-risk policy for the existing property and the construction activity. Now, this hasn't been done previously, to my mind. Medical malpractice, again, I touched on this earlier. It is a rapidly developing industry. There are new techniques coming in. There's new machinery coming in. There's new ways of, developing this sort of cosmetic area. So as I said earlier, we can write certain chemicals that are used that other markets can't accept. Another new product is being developed at present, and unfortunately I can't go into this too much. It's still under wraps because I'm still doing a little bit of negotiation with the market. But this product has never been offered in Canada before. It is new. It's very detailed on the back end. What you'll be seeing on the front end won't change a great deal, but it is a really unique product, and it will appeal to a very large segment of the Canadian population. And I'd encourage all the brokers to keep reading, the news outlets over the next couple of months, because you will be seeing a lot more from us.
Great, thank you. You've made me curious, so I'm sure you've made others curious as well. How can finally, a couple more questions. How can MGAs help brokers complete placements through these innovative solutions?
Again, here at Chess, we have taken a great deal of time to interview our new team members, and there was one year I actually interviewed over 300 people to recruit 30 people. So I know my colleagues don't particularly like going through the interviews with me, but there we go. But what we have done is, in our new colleagues, we've managed to identify people that are coming maybe from an ex-broker background, or they've worked in the insurance industry either as a broker or an underwriter in different parts of the world. Now that's important, because they've seen different solutions, different risks in other areas of the world, and we're literally bringing a worldwide perspective into our underwriting team here at Chess. Now, if the broker hasn't seen this particular problem, I'm pretty sure that someone in our company has seen a problem, and has probably seen a far worse problem. But more importantly, we've had a solution previously. Now that again is where I can add added value, in that 27 years of broking in Lloyd's and broking in the London market, I probably know one or two people that can help us get something done.
Right. So my final question for you then, why should Chess Special Risk be the first choice of MGA for retail brokers?
Great. Well, we are a winning team, and we do win various awards, and those are really important to us here at Chess. Are those awards that we win, and they're won by motivated professionals. We do want to write business. We want to issue a policy. We want to issue an invoice. We want to beat the competition. We like speaking to people and hearing the story of the client, paint a picture for us. We want to make new friends. Our broker support, since the new management has taken over at Chess some 5 years ago, has gone literally from 3 retailers to now over 4,000 retailers across the country. We often receive a call or an email first. We know that we can quote fast. We can quote same day if the broker needs, that Friday afternoon special at 3 o'clock. Just give us a call. We will drop it. If you need a quote, the client needs cover, just phone us. Somebody will give you the quote to help you bind. And that's the service commitment that the team provide to the brokers.
Great. Thank you so much, Gary. I do see a couple of questions coming in that are addressed to you, so I'm sure we'll circle back. But now I want to get the other speakers in on this conversation. And First, I have questions for Maroof, who, as I mentioned earlier, is Senior VP and Director of Underwriting. So Maroof, first question for you. Construction insurance is one of Chess's largest product offerings, and it's your specialty. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what Chess's appetite is like now in the construction space.
Thank you, Naomi, and good morning, everybody. To begin with, our appetite is very broad. And as Gary mentioned earlier, that we look to say, yes, we are here to write business. So we have in-house capacity to write both frame and non-frame constructions. And non-frame is non-combustible construction. We have higher capacity as expected. We write a lot of large construction project, and we can write townhouse complexes. We are able to arrange cover on layered policies or layered basis. And capacity in today's marketplace is driven by the price. So higher the price, higher the capacity. That's the condition of the market in this hard market place. In last 5 years at Chess, we have written a lot of large construction projects. Both Gary and I have over 30 years of individual experience in writing construction business in different parts of the world. Now, no doubt we are in a hard market, but I wouldn't say it's hard across the board. There is still competition. But as far as the insured is concerned, the price is very important for the insured. But we do offer a very broad coverage. We quote and issue the policies within 48 hours. And for us, the service is very, very important. So both service and the coverage offered is very, very important for us. It's not only the price. We do have capacity to write wrap up, and we can arrange coverage, wrap-up coverage for up to $100 million. And where we are different in the market, as I believe we are different, is that we are able to offer longer completed operation project term, cover term. So in the market, it's mostly 12 months to 24 months, but we are able to offer a longer period for completed operations cover. So it's quite broad, and we are able to arrange coverage for the insured and our broker friends.
Great, thank you so much, Maroof. Second question for you. While brokers have traditionally come to MGAs for products such as frame construction insurance, now you're looking to underwrite other projects, as Gary talked about in the beginning. Could you maybe pick up where Gary left off and tell brokers what other projects you're looking at now?
Okay, so you said that brokers were looking for frame projects only for the coverage from the MGAs. I think that market has changed. So the brokers are coming to us not only for frame projects, but non-frame and larger projects too. So we are able to write all different types of construction, starting from single family dwelling to townhouse complexes, then shopping malls, public infrastructure, and power related constructions. So I would say that we are able to write all different types. It's not only the frame, but it's all different types of projects.
Great. Thank you so much. I mean, you're just, dipping your toe into this, but I do want to move on to our other panelists, because we have some different perspectives. Yeah. So I'd like to introduce Christina Nelson. She's Senior Underwriter and Team Leader, and she's going to be sharing some information about property. So Christina, Chess has seen some changes in its underwriting appetite in the property space. Could you outline those changes for brokers and perhaps tell them how you're using analytics to apply capacity across Canada?
Sure. Hi, good morning. So you all know we're in a very hard market right now. Insureds are shopping around for pricing and for coverage more than I've ever seen. Insureds right now are not staying local to brokers as they were before. And I understand it's really difficult for some brokers to place certain risks right now. And I'm receiving calls like this all day, every day from across the country. So we're hoping that you can think of Chess as a possible solution going forward. And before the pandemic, on my trips out west, I had already started seeing a big change in the property appetite from the insurers. But now, as everyone knows, it's spread across Canada. So all insurers are reducing their capacity and limiting their appetite. But at Chess, we are still finding some ways to give solutions for brokers and for the insured. So although Chess is not the best at, may not be giving the best price possible, we are looking at things on a solutions-based approach and not just how much the premium is. So we understand it's really hard for some brokers to even place coverage at all. And so where we've mostly written non-standard risks in the past, our main focus now is on a more standard type of commercial property business. So I'm seeing a lot more of this type of business. These are being non-renewed by Intact or Wawanesa, for example. Some properties are new construction, fully updated, no claims, but for some reason or another, domestic's getting off risk, so we can help you with these. After some analysis of our portfolio and the loss data over the last couple of years, we have made some decisions to kind of scale back on writing some property risks in areas or provinces that were troublesome. So Atlantic Canada and Manitoba were particularly challenging. That's due to geography and weather-related events and the conditions of buildings there. But we have adapted our underwriting to ensure that our contracts are still maintained and we're maintaining profitability, and therefore capacity is not going to be in jeopardy. Water damage claims are also on the rise across the country, and some are arguing that water is now the #1 cause of loss in the country rather than fire. So accordingly, many insurers have restricted this coverage, but we at Chess will still provide water damage and sewer backup coverage if the plumbing has been updated, if the deductible is adequate, the premium's right, etc. So we are still imposing some restrictions, but we can give you what you need there and help you win the business. And Chess is actually one of the few companies or MGAs in the market during the pandemic that's increased capacity over the pandemic. So we've gained new property contracts, and our existing property contracts, we have increased capacity there. So I encourage all the brokers to send us some new risks and try us if you haven't tried us. And as Gary mentioned early on, we put a real emphasis on our customer service and responding to brokers in a timely manner and picking up the phone and having a discussion about a risk.
Great, thank you. I had written these questions beforehand, but it looks like there is a question here in the chat that you might be answering now. So I encourage people to listen up. So you have increased capacity. What types of risks are you underwriting now that are different to what brokers normally look towards MGAs for?
So right now we're really excited about our increased new capacity out west. So that's BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And we're seeing increased demand for quotes on larger risks out there. So that's things like townhouse complexes, mixed commercial and residential risks, large commercial office, retail space, apartment buildings is a big one. So we're often able to subscribe on these larger risks. Where we can, we want to write 100% of the risk, but if we can't, then we can offer a lead line too. So on your next subscription policy, you can think about us. Out west, we're currently not interested in the condo corps or the strata, but we will consider most other buildings, including heritage status. So you can think of Chess for that. And we also have a standard property package that Gary mentioned earlier. And that is like a combined package, property and liability together with those commercial property extensions like the domestics offer.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Christina. And, you know, we're running low on time, but Alexandra, you've been patiently waiting for your questions. So just to refresh everybody's memory, Alexandra is senior underwriter and team leader. And she's going to talk a little bit about the liability space. So just, you know, basic question, what developments have happened at Chess over the last year in liability insurance?
Yes, thank you, Naomi. Good morning, everyone. As you already know, we have secured additional property and liability capacity, and our in-house capacity has become one of the largest amongst the MGAs. We now have automatic capacities to write CGL for $5 million for most of our standard risks. You are aware that we have access to various Lloyd's syndicates for hard to place liability risks. For our in-house capacity to quote and bind, we will be focusing on offices, professional services, fine dining restaurants, even to coffee shops, sandwich bars. We're focusing on retail trade, wholesale trade, personal repair services. We do some light manufacturing, real estate management, and building owners risks. I just want to mention, just please keep in mind that for the risks that I have mentioned, we are able to quote within 24 hours and bind and issue the policy on the next working day. So that's always a bonus.
Great. And as your colleagues have talked about, you know, you've been able to grow over the past, you know, over the pandemic, over the past year or so, and in your liability portfolio as well. Can you touch a little bit upon how you've been able to do that?
Yeah, of course. So as we've mentioned here at Chess, we make it a priority to communicate with our brokers, not only just by email, but we ensure that our phone calls are made on a daily basis. We strongly believe that communication is key. We believe in maintaining our relationships with our brokers and developing new ones. It's very, very important to us. We have a quick turnaround time. We do our follow-ups, we probe, we ask questions, we find out our target price. We have an intimate understanding of our market type, and we know the appetite of our markets inside and out. That's what helps us grow our portfolio and succeed in our everyday responsibilities.
Great. And then finally, we have a lot of questions coming in, but for you, what's the largest growth sector you've seen in liability placements?
Yes, so we have a very wide variety of risks within our appetite. We are seeing a growth in contractors, retail, and realty risks. Please keep in mind that we are not keen so much on the hospitality risks with any live entertainment, establishments that are considered a nightclub or pubs. However, we have been able to obtain terms for waste management risks, trucking CGL. We also have a lot of premises liability, vacant land liability, and we can also do standalone liability if required. We also have another division that focuses on E&O, further to our MedMal, vape and cannabis risks. I really hope you all keep Chess in mind. Chess is here to provide solutions, and I hope we can assist on future submissions going forward.
Great. Thank you so much to everybody. I really want to get to these questions, and I'm actually having a hard time sort of knowing which question to ask first, because we have a lot coming through. But I'm gonna be fair and go back to sort of the first, first come, first serve. I just want everybody to keep in mind that we'll be sharing the slides afterwards, and there will be contact information on the slide. So if we don't get to your question, please reach out to Chess. So I'm just going to throw out these questions to all the panelists and just jump in however you see fit. The first question, we touched on it quite a bit, but maybe sort of, to wrap this up. Straightforward from Tony N. What is your market appetite at this time? Anyone of you?
Shall I take that question? The market our appetite, I think, is broad. As I mentioned earlier, we have in-house capability for both property and liability for over 1,200 industry codes, IBC, SIC codes. And that's pretty broad, I think. I think overall there's only 1,700 IBC codes. The 500 that we're missing are predominantly farm related. We're not a farm market. As I also mentioned earlier, our physical capacity, our property capacity has increased enormously, along with our GL capacity, med-mal, and construction. So I think those tend to be the main areas where we see the majority of requests coming in. If there is a specific request, please feel free to email me direct. My email is available.
Great, thank you so much, Gary. So just, we actually have gone over time, but just because there's so many questions, I'm gonna ask a couple of more. So this is from Cindy Gravel, directly to Gary. Do you see a continuation of expanding property capacity over the next 12 months, even with the extensions being included on those limits? And what are your TIV limits now with these changes?
Cindy, hi, nice of you to join us. Thank you. There's a number of answers to that question. The first answer I would say is it depends on the price. If there really is a major risk and there is no, capacity available, then, it is price driven, and we're more than capable of putting together some very large values on very large schedules. So that, is a pretty simple way of answering. In terms of capacity offering, our capacity has increased 4 times the level that it was this time last year. We're now for a top level risk with good construction, able to look at TIVs of 10 million. That's well within our capability. And we are actually in active negotiations for a further 10 million capacity. So we should be up to 20 million in property capacity by the end of the year. Great,
thank you. It's almost 11, but I do want to ask one more question, just because we're getting so many. And I'm trying to skip over the ones that I think have already been answered, but again, you can always reach out to these great people after. Final question here. With more there's no name here. With more companies now shifting to working from home, what is the impact of this new environment on business interruption coverage? And is there a need to make any changes to the BI wording? And whoever feels most fit to answer, please jump in.
Maroof, I'm going to pass that one to you.
Okay, thank you. It's a really a good and tough question, I would say, because BI coverage now, as everyone expect the insurers to pay for any loss. Now here in Canada, the BI wording is such that it has to be followed by a peril insured against under a property policy. And due to COVID and this pandemic, there were a lot of issues with the coverage, and most of these claims were denied in Canada, but in different states of US and in UK, the court judgments were different, where COVID-related BI claims were paid or under process for payment, as you all know. So I think the insurance regulators are to consider this, and I do not think I either have the authority or knowledge to say yes or no to this question. I think the regulators should answer to that.
Yeah.
Could I just add to that? I saw that question in the Q&A earlier. I think it depends on the nature of the business. You know, if it is a manufacturing risk and you've got people working from home, then the location of the property that you're insuring is still the same, and the business interruption developed from that property is still from that particular address. If you have a service-based industry where people are working from home, just like us, our corporate registration is still at our head office address. Our report and accounts are still generated from that location. And all our management goes through that address. So, you know, if there is an incident at that location, then it doesn't really matter if you're working from home or not. The loss of income will still be attributed to that risk location. I would have thought that, you know, this whole working from home setup has probably taught us everything now, in that, you know, with a cloud-based operating system and the way software runs, you can be anywhere and still run a successful business. It may well be that the client doesn't even need to buy business interruption now, because now they've got, you know, 20 employees spread across the country or across different countries, and therefore the whole business interruption is now reduced down to a level where if someone has a fire in their front room, it doesn't really matter, because that person can go down to, you know, Timothy Hortons and buy a coffee and work on Wi-Fi from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, we have so many questions coming in, but we're way over time. So at some point, you know, we have to say goodbye. But again,
Naomi, I'm being told that we can answer some more questions.
Oh, can we? Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
You know, continue. I see we've lost a couple of participants, but
okay, perfect.
I'm more than happy to sit here and answer questions.
Okay, lovely, great, good to hear. So there is a direct question here from Maruf. Nabil, I'm not gonna try to pronounce the last name here. So here's a question from Maruf. If a broker has a builder who's building several homes a year across the city, will you offer a wrap-up policy, or will this require the builder to buy individual builders' risk policies for each location? And further, if that is the case, do they need to purchase the GL with the builder's risk? That's a very specific question.
Thank you, Nabil. So, okay, let me start with the builder's risk portion first before I go to the wrap up. So, of course, we can arrange a blanket builder's risk policy where the builder is constructing different buildings in different parts of the city. And of course, the contractor and all the contractors who would be working in different projects must have the CGL policy in place. That would be a condition. We can arrange the wrap-up policy, and as you know, that wrap-up would depend on the surrounding property and the location. Lot would depend on the location. For example, if one of the houses built in downtown Toronto and the surrounding property includes large buildings and that kind of stuff, it might be a bit difficult, but we are able to arrange that sort of coverage too. So if you have something specific, I'd really like to receive the submission, and you can send that to me, please.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to keep going. From Tracy Hunt, she says, new to using chess. Well, actually, we might have asked, but just, you know, because it came, we might have already answered this, but just to reiterate, can brokers use chess in BC and Alberta?
Yes, of course. So I took that question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, of course, because Christina has mentioned that we do have capacity to write property in both BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. We have increased capacity there. We are able to write all different types of liability in all the provinces in Canada. Yeah,
Perfect.
and same applies to construction. So the short answer is yes.
Okay, wonderful. And restaurant with bar and liquor 50% is that something Chess will look into with, again, this is a very specific question, with 5 million liability. I don't know.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, Alexandra, please.
Yes, so we could definitely look to hospitality with liquor. However, in Ontario, I believe it's 25%, and then other provinces is up to 30%.
Okay, thank you. And how about cyber? That's just, from Larry Hoover, cyber question mark.
Yeah, I'll take that question. Yes, we can offer cyber standalone, and in fact, last week we secured completely new capacity. I think we now have 4 capacity providers for cyber risks. And I would just mention to everyone, we do take anybody's application form. We had a question come through on the chat. So in regards to cyber, if you've already completed an application form for somebody else, don't go through the pain of trying to fill in one of ours. All the information is the same. Just send us in what you've already completed, and this goes for property, liability, construction. We take anybody's application form just to try and make life easier for you guys.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to continue going because we still have questions coming in. This is from Travis Dunnett. Hospitality. Can you do hotels, most notably Best Westerns, as they have some above average coverage requests?
I will take that. Yes, we can. We can, and we are writing hotels and motels for both property and liability. So you can please send the submission to us. Great,
thank you. And is Chess planning to offer to brokers for some quote access to the portal online for risks like rental dwelling and general contractors, etc.?
I'll answer that. Yes, yes, we are. We do pride ourselves on quick turnaround and bespoke access. The online quote and bind is, going down that avenue of computer says yes or computer says no. And I can appreciate perhaps that it's quicker to get an online quote. But what I don't like, and I suppose this is my broker background, is where, you've gone through and you've ticked something on the online portal and its computer says no, and quite frankly that gets on my nerves. If I was a broker, that would get on my nerves. I would far rather send it to a human being and pick the phone up and say, look, this is an X in this box, but it's an X because, and then it's great, yeah, sure, we can quote that.
Right.
So it is coming. It is coming. We're going to be offering a number of other products online. Like everything, unfortunately, until the government changes the number of days, number of hours in a working day, at the moment we're only limited to 24. So, we are trying our best.
Thanks so much, Gary. From Lucas, would Chess be an ideal market for commercial property, frame, non-frame apartments, commercial buildings, etc., with the extensions mentioned where domestic carriers have limited capacity or have pulled out of the market entirely?
I'll answer that one. Yes, we write all of that stuff. So strip plazas, commercial plazas, retail, frame, masonry, non-combustible, we write all of that. As for the commercial property extensions, those come with our broad form coverage. So we have to look at the construction and update years for heating, plumbing, electrical, roof. We got to dig into all of that. So it's really kind of location specific, but we can give those extensions if everything's updated. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
No
The
problem.
Q&A is making me very happy as a host here because we're getting lots of questions and everybody on the panel's jumping in. So I'm just going to continue going. Do you require your own specific applications to quote, or will you quote from a general submission?
Well, I'll take that. Yeah, we'll take a policy works application, which I think is more of a general application. So we'll take that. We'll take, you know, as I said earlier, we'll take anybody's application form. What we don't really like is a broker's summary on an email. That doesn't really answer a lot of the questions. It's just giving us really what the broker thinks that we want to know. And what I'm referring to there is sort of upgrades. For instance, the application forms are asking about upgrades, which is important, year of construction, etc. But also, you know, we do like to see a signature at the bottom from the insured. It means that the information has been validated. So that is something that we can follow up with afterwards. We don't necessarily need the signed app when it comes in, but just during the tying up process post-bind, we do ask the brokers to follow up with a signed application, please.
Great, thanks, Gary. Can you do standalone EPL policies? Quick question there.
Yeah, of course,
Yes,
we can. We can. Okay, I'll be honest here that we do not have automatic capacity, but we can arrange coverage through our Lloyd's partners and brokers there. Yeah, we can arrange that.
Great, thanks, Maroof. I see two more questions here. What about a building owner of a strip plaza that has commercial tenants and one retail cannabis tenant? I love these questions.
Yeah, of course we can write that. Please send the submission to Christina.
Yeah, great. Anything to add there, Christina, or Maroof sort of just gave the quick and easy answer?
No, we can take a look at that. I mean, cannabis tenants is always difficult, but we do have a market that can take a look at it, and we'll work with them to try to get something in place.
Perfect, great, thanks so much. And final question here. In terms of property, do you offer standalone flood coverage in Alberta? Also, what is your appetite on oil and gas industry, i.e. oil drillers, consultants, and snubbing operations?
I'll take that one. Yes, I mean, we can do standalone flood in Alberta. We can even do standalone hail in Alberta. We've had a lot of experience previously in putting together a hail cover for a lot of these recreational vehicle lots where they've got, you know, $4 million worth of recreational vehicles parked there for sale, and you know, a hailstorm comes over and hits them. I would just say to you that it is premium driven. So if you're looking at just trying to buy standalone flood for $1 million value, that's not something that we're going to be able to assist with. But the example that I used of $4 million worth of lot, then yeah, you know, we can get you a price on that. Regarding the oil and gas industry, yes, we're in that market. We do write a lot of those types of contractors. Some are harder than others. We know that a lot of the welders, for instance, were all let go 18 months ago and have had to come back into the industry as independent contractors, and they all require their own GL product. We write a lot of that. We write a lot of the bush clearers out there, forestry contractors in terms of GL, not forestry equipment. We can look at oil drillers. We can look at covers for blowout and cratering, etc. But again, that's another one where, if it's just a one-man band with 200,000 worth of revenue, we're not going to have a cheap solution for that. We would be looking for some of the bigger people.
Great, thank you so much. I just we're going to leave it there. I'm so glad we were able to cover the questions, and yeah, I'm just really happy about the discussion today, and want to thank the panelists, but most of all, I want to thank everybody who attended today. It's just been really great to be a part of this, and thanks for all your questions. And yeah, if there are any more questions, as I'm sure there are, Chess is easy to reach, and there'll be you'll get the slides, so you'll get all the contact information there. So thank you so much to everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thanks everyone
Bye. Thank you
for joining us. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.